this?
Welcome to Terraria. You press single player because of course you probably have no friends, and you create whatever cursed, diseased character you choose to make. And you're somehow happy with it. Then you create your world. You choose a small world, and you also choose Crimson. Crimson is better, and fight me on it. In terms of your mode, you choose Expert mode, since it is of course the best mode, and everyone agrees with me. If you don't agree with me, I will personally come to your house and I will. You watch as the world, you will have many deaths and unfortunate encounters get created, and you spawn into the world. The first thing you notice is when you spawn, you find this NPC called the Guide. He has two uses, one giving you some recipes to help you have at least some understanding of this game, and two, well, I won't spoil the second use till later. You also notice that you started with 3 tools, a copper short sword to help you have some way of attacking enemies, albeit very tediously, a copper pickaxe to help you actually mine anything, and a copper axe to commit deforestation. So you do just that. While committing deforestation, you die to your first enemy, the slime. Yeah, if you thought this would be fun, then stop playing this game. Terraria isn't nice to you. It isn't nice to anyone. After committing deforestation, you craft yourself a workbench and you finally get to craft your first armor set. A wooden armor set. Wow, very fun. Very cool, Terraria. After building the most complex and amazing house someone could ever build, you explore the surface, and you find an entrance to a surface cave. You enter it, as you wonder what amazing loot you could get. Yup. This is another example of how Terraria is going to keep on brutally murdering you. But you go back and you manage to make it more than 5 feet into the cave and you find a nice chest. And you get some speed boots. Pretty cool. You keep on looting, finding some nice ore, and more chests with more nice accessories, ranging from a band of regen to a cloud, and you also find these cool hearts called life crystals, which can increase your maximum HP, giving you less chance of coming into a case of first degree murder. Then you find a new underground biome, a mushroom biome. Mushroom biomes usually contain some nice juicy loot, so make sure to explore every pixel of them. You also find your first real weapon, a mace. I mean, that's pretty cool. Eventually you go back home without any deaths at all, and using stone, you craft yourself a furnace, and you can finally smelt your ores into bars. You first use your iron bars to craft an iron anvil, and you use the unholy amount of platinum you have to craft yourself some platinum armor and platinum tools. And this is where the game gets addicting. This here, folks, is called progression. Every step you take progressing and upgrading your loadout, that feeling you get, that's what makes this game absolute art. You go back into the underground to get some more life crystals to max out your HP, but in a chest, you find a suspicious looking eye. After somehow taking 2 hours to max out your HP, you go back and you use the suspicious looking eye.
Hey, you wanna see something cool?
And this is when you encounter your first boss, the Eye of Cthulhu. You die because your mace is a waste of a weapon, so you look to upgrading your weapon. You explore the entirety of the surface and you encounter your snow biome, a nice, normal chill biome. But after going further, you encounter the Crimson biome. The Crimson biome is the evil diseased biome that you chose when creating your world. And then you encounter a fortress, or a dungeon, whatever. There's a crippling old man guarding it, and it tells me to not enter. What's the worst that could possibly happen? Yeah, that wasn't very nice. You go right instead, and after some more walking, you encounter the desert biome, which has antlions that can turn your face into a pincushion. Then you encounter the jungle biome. This here is the worst biome in the game. Everything here tries to take your face off and make bubblegum out of it, so you have to be very careful. Finally, you encounter the ocean, the end of the surface. Some peace. I wonder what atrocities will happen here. You then realize that you managed to get a funny looking potion called the gravitation potion when you were looking in the underground, so you use it. And now you have the ability to go up to the skies at Mach speed. But when you go to space, there are these islands called Skylands. You encounter one, and it has a chest, which has a star fury. This is your first ever actually good weapon, and it rains stars from the heavens on people who don't subscribe. Seriously, please subscribe as I want to get to 100k subs. You encounter another island, finding a shiny red balloon, so now you actually have some jump mobility. But eventually, you lose your gravitation buff and you combust because of fall damage. You take a break from looting and you build some more houses. Yeah. And some more town NPCs start moving, like the merchant, the demolitionist, and whatever that creature is. But one night, you receive a hilariously looking status message saying, "The blood moon is rising." Oh god. If you're wondering what the blood moon does, it spawns some new enemies which are the equivalent of the already existing enemies but on steroids. But you managed to get a cool accessory called the shark tooth necklace. So at least you get some loot in return for getting ignited every 3 seconds. Now that you actually have some good gear, you go to the diseased crimson biome to explore and see what abomination of a biome this is. You find these altars called crimson altars, which will be important later, and you find these crimson heart things. So you do what anybody would do, bomb them. Yup. A message tells you a horrible chill goes down your spine. So you keep bombing the hearts because you're just that manly, but after breaking another 2 hearts...
Fight back, nigga! Fight back, nigga! Fight back! Fight back!
Never do that again. When you respawn, you get a message saying a goblin army is approaching, and after waiting for a bit, the goblin army arrives. But this is just too easy. It's a nice way of coping after the horror that just happened. You get some nice cash for defeating these enemies, but at the same time, you get spiky balls, and that's pretty cool, I guess? I don't know. But then you also manage to find a guy trapped in the underground, the goblin scammer. No, not the tinkerer, the scammer. He has the ability to reforge your items, yes, but I can't reforge anything without getting the terrible reforge 4 times in a row. But you also buy a tinkerer's workshop from him and rocket boots. The Tinkerer's Workshop can somehow combine your accessories, like your cloud in a bottle and shiny red balloon, into a cloud in a balloon, and I don't get how that logic works. And you also combine the rocket boots you just bought and your Hermes boots to craft Spectre boots. And now your boots not only make you faster, but you also have the ability to fly. But oh wait, don't forget to not die from fall damage. So you've done a lot of preparations. You made a lot of houses, and you've geared up to the point that you're wearing as much stuff as a GTA 5 character. You're ready for your first boss. So you craft a slime crown, you build some rows of platforms, which is called an arena, as it helps immensely for bosses, and using the slime crown, you summon the King Slime. This boss just bounces around, and for some reason it has a ninja inside of him. In the lore, the ninja is the guide's brother. The lore of this game is very asinine, but whatever. You have no time to think about that. You need to kill this boss or it will keep giving you discomfort for the rest of your life. Your speed boots help immensely against the giant slime, and eventually you kill it via lashing down stars from the air. Defeating this boss gives you an impressive ego boost, but let's see if that ego boost is short-lived, as the next night you use another suspicious looking eye, and the Eye of Cthulhu spawns again. The first phase is very easy, and you can probably do it blindfolded. But the same can't be said for the next phase, as it takes 200 grams of pure caffeine and it starts charging at us faster than before. But you are still the most manly player in Terraria, so you win. You get a Shield of Cthulhu. Now you can dash. Congrats. You also get Crimtane ore from the boss, so you craft them into Crimtane bars and make the Tendon Bow and the Blood Butcherer. And now, this is the perfect time to start thinking about what class you're gonna go. There are 4 classes: Melee, Ranger, Mage, and Summoner. If you want to forget social distancing, go the Melee class. You become more aggressive than your character's self-esteem. If you want to not think and have less than 3 brain cells, go Ranged. This class is known for being the lamest Terraria class because it's always just the easiest and most overpowered. If you want to turn anything into a pincushion, go Mage. While you do the damage equivalent to the emotional trauma you got when you first started this playthrough, you have the defense of a kitten. And Summoner. All I need to say is use this class if you have no friends, which is why you either despise this class or you love it. You decide to go Ranger, since you want something simpler and overpowered. So you use the Tendon Bow you crafted, and you go to Crimson, make another arena, and break more of the Crimson Hearts and fight the Brain of Cthulhu again. And this time, you're prepared. You destroy the eyes that it spawns, but once the eyes are dead, it starts using the Shadow Clone Jutsu and summons illusions of itself. And as the boss gets lower, the illusions get more opaque, so at that point you're just guessing. But with the power of luck on your side, you manage to beat the Brain of Cthulhu. You equip the Brain of Confusion you got from this fight, and now that you defeated the Brain of Cthulhu, you have unlocked the next step of juicy progression. You also got these materials called tissue samples from the brain. So you use the tissue samples with Crimtane to make a Crimtane armor set, which gives you some pleasant regeneration buffs. And you make a Deathbringer pickaxe. The Deathbringer pickaxe is very important. You decide to mine out this vertical line from the surface to the entirety of the underground called a Hellevator. The reason why it's called a Hellevator is because after you get far enough into the underground, you made it to the underworld, which is also commonly known as Hell. You get an obsidian skin potion and you use it. Then you go into the lava and mine this ore called Hellstone. This is why the Deathbringer pickaxe is important. You normally can't mine Hellstone with a platinum pickaxe. After getting enough Hellstone to feed a family of 17, you find another furnace in the underworld called the Hellforge, and you use the Hellforge to smelt your Hellstone ore into Hellstone bars. And now you can make some Hellstone gear. You make the Molten Fury Bow because again, you're ranged and you're lame, and you make the Molten Pickaxe. But then a meteorite lands. How fun. You check the surface and, well, there's a meteorite. You mine it and smelt it into meteorite bars and you craft the star cannon. The star cannon has a very, very funny mechanic where it uses fallen stars as ammo. Take in the fact that fallen stars each take 2 years to get, and this gun will cost you 23 years of your lifespan every time you use it against the boss. Now here's the thing, now that you got more gear, you're ready for the next boss to commit a dance battle on. So you go to the jungle and dig down and you find the underground jungle. This is why the jungle is so bad. It's filled with illness infested creatures like hornets and man-eaters, but you also manage to find a beehive. Yeah, this is where you fight the next boss. I'm not kidding. You build another quick arena, and you break the very funny looking larva thing, and the queen bee decides to summon itself. The queen bee can do many attacks, ranging from summoning bees to charging at you faster than 90% of YouTubers saying they got a sponsorship from Raid Shadow Lit. But you know, we don't accept those sponsorships, so naturally we managed to absolutely melt this boss. The queen bee dropped another bow called the bee's knees. What a weird name. What would it ever shoot out? Bees! How surprising. I have been recording this for approximately 7 hours and I'm not having a fun time, please help. So remember the dungeon that gave you physical and mental trauma by jump scaring you? Well, it's time to go back there. So you build an arena at the dungeon, and at night, you talk to the crippling old man. And once you curse it, oh hey, I wonder who that is. Seems kind of familiar, am I right? You should go like and subscribe to whoever that is. Skeletron takes no damage until you get rid of both of its hands. Guys, wait. Is that Sans Undertale? And once you get rid of its hands, it starts shooting some skull emojis, but we reply with an imp emoji, sending back the fiend. Now you can finally go into the dungeon. Don't worry, no more jump scares. The dungeon is basically what the world looks like and feels like after TikTok. Horrible. But on the other hand, the enemies there drop gold keys, and you use the gold keys to get 2 items, a cobalt shield and a shadow key. The cobalt shield has the ability to cancel knockback, which is absolutely goated, and the shadow key, well, I'll explain later. You also manage to find the mechanic town NPC, which will provide nothing except for some useless wiring systems. Okay, now that I said that, I feel like the entire wiring community is after me. You also get tired of walking, which is relatable to everyone. So you make a pylon system. Pylons are bought from happy NPCs, and the pylon you get depends on the biome the NPCs are in. For example, if an NPC is happy in the forest biome, they sell the forest pylon, and you can teleport from one place to another using pylons. And it makes things 10 times easier because I don't want to have to walk 27 miles just to actually progress. Remember the shadow key you got? Well, now it's time to use it. You go back to hell and unlock these shadow chests, and they can have some nice juicy loot. You get the Hellwing bow from one of the chests, which is absolutely goated. You also go back to the dungeon to get more bones from the dungeon enemies, and you get bones from the enemies there and you craft necro armor, the best ranger armor set you can have right now. Now that you're all geared up for this stage of progression, you fight the next boss. Yes, that's right, deerclops. Well, were you expecting another one? Nope, you fight deerclops. If you're wondering, hey, isn't deerclops a Don't Starve boss? Well, yes. But at one point, Terraria and Don't Starve did a crossover and deerclops unfortunately made its way to the horrible land of Terraria. You craft the deer thing and you summon the deerclops. Though here's the thing, deerclops is one of the most cheesable bosses in this game. I'm only saying one of the most because we'll get into the other 2 later. Even if you die, deerclops has this mechanic unlike any other boss where it doesn't despawn even if you die. It wants to torture you by killing you more, but this just results in the boss being way too easy since dying just doesn't matter, because you can just go back and kill it. After deerclops decides to mentally erupt because it hears the narration of this video, we go to the jungle side of the world and go to the start of the ocean, and we mine down. After digging down a lot, the screen turns into what it feels like to experience being euphoric, and we find water. That's pink. This is called the Shimmer. It can do some pretty cool things like switching an item to another item, and it can also decraft items. Before entering hard mode, I mean killing the final boss, you make a pretty cool mob farm, following the tutorial of the most legendary man himself. Amazing video, thank you Waffle Time. This mob farm will help you get some nice juicy loot later on. But then you find this NPC in the underground called the Tavern Keep. You check what he sells, and he sells a crystal. Nice. So you buy the crystal and the crystal stand, and oh god, what did he just summon? This is the Old One's army. You fight it, and once you get to wave 5, a mini boss called the Dark Mage spawns. It's actually very easy, for now, but you don't get anything good other than a material called Defender Medals. You can exchange these defender medals for items that the tavern keep sells, and later on he will sell some pretty cool items. Then we go to Underworld and build a very long platform. Yes, the final boss of this game is coming. The final boss. No other bosses after this boss. You kill a demon, which drops the guide voodoo doll. Now remember when I said there's a second use of the guide? Well, the second use is sacrificing him, because after you throw the voodoo doll into the lava of the underworld, the guide decides to just not live anymore and the wall of flesh spawns. That's right, a wall of flesh. I simultaneously love and hate the boss ideas of this game. One, I love because, you know, they're pretty cool. And two, because it feels like they're one with a creepypasta. The wall of flesh just spams lasers and it tries to travel to you at Mach speed. And here's the thing, if you try to go back and recall, well, you can't. This final boss is so powerful that you just cannot run away. And the death message just decides to say that you tried to escape. How fun and edgy. So you keep going and going, but when it gets lower, it gets faster. And you're about to die, but you have one more thing up your sleeve. The star cannon has a very funny mechanic where it uses fallen stars as ammo. Take in the fact that fallen stars each take 2 years to get, and this gun will cost you 23 years of your lifespan every time you use it against the boss. The star cannon was good all along. This was my plan this entire time. Now that you killed the final boss, you realize that it isn't the final boss. How surprising. It's not like there's more than half the video left. If you thought the game was tedious and hard, you should just stop playing, because all along, this game was in a state called pre-hard mode. Yup. Now that you killed the wall of flesh, the world rebrands itself to hard mode. The gear you've gotten for this point doesn't matter, because everything one-shots you now, no matter how much defense you have. Haha, so fun. From the Wall of Flesh treasure bag, you get a pawn hammer, which is going to be important, but you also get a demon heart. So to cope, you use it and now you have another accessory slot. You also get a summoner emblem, which boosts summoner damage. Now normally, you would have to farm it again since you want to get the emblem for your class. But remember the Shimmer? If we throw the summoner emblem into the Shimmer pool, we can transmute it into any emblem of our choice, and we can get the Ranger emblem, which boosts range damage. So I put that as another accessory. You explore the surface, seeing if anything actually changed about the world. This biome is called the Hallow biome. Now here's the thing, you might ask, how is it called the Hallow biome? It looks so pretty. Well yeah, but a unicorn is here to debate that, and it one-shots you. Now you understand. So then you go to Underground Crimson, and remember how I told you about the Crimson altars? Well, you can actually use the pawn hammer in hard mode to break them, and once you break the Crimson altars, hard mode ores can spawn. You see, there are 3 tiers of hard mode ore. The first tier is cobalt and palladium, the second tier is mithril and orichalcum, and the third tier is titanium and adamantite. One ore can only spawn in a world from each tier. Your world gets cobalt, mithril, and adamantite. The first thing you do is use your molten pickaxe to mine cobalt ore, and you smelt your cobalt ore into bars, and you make the cobalt pickaxe, or drill if you're weird. Then you use your cobalt pickaxe to mine mithril ore, and you smelt your mithril ore into bars and make a mithril anvil, a hard mode crafting station used to make a lot of really nice loot. And you also make a mithril pickaxe, or drill. Then you mine adamantite with your mithril pickaxe, and it takes ages because finding adamantite is like me finding friends. They're nowhere to be found. And eventually, you use your adamantite ore to make an adamantite forge, and you smelt your adamantite ore into bars with the adamantite forge, and you make an adamantite pickaxe. No drill this time. Pickaxes are better. Then you go to the snow biome while it's raining. Since it's raining, there will be a blizzard in the snow biome. You see, when there's a blizzard in the snow biome, there's this enemy that can spawn called the ice golem. Ice golems can drop frost cores. You kill 3 ice golems without cheesing them at all, of course, and you combine your 3 frost cores with some adamantite bars to make the frost armor set. It boosts both melee and ranged damage, and well, we're ranged, so it's a good armor set. You need more mobility, so you go back to space, and you find this enemy that spawns in space in a hard mode called the Wyvern. You kill the Wyvern for Souls of Flight, you go to a Hallow biome, and cautiously grind pixies for pixie dust. And by cautiously, I mean cautiously, since you don't want another unicorn to take a crowbar and continuously hit you with it, causing another unfortunate death. After getting enough pixie dust, you'll use the Souls of Flight and pixie dust to make fairy wings, the manliest of wings someone could ever have. Other than the amazing drip, they also make you fly. Pretty cool. Then you go back to your mob farm and grind these cave skeleton archer things. One of them drops a magic quiver, a ranger accessory that boosts damage to bows. Now why do you need an accessory that boosts bows? Well, you go to Underground Hallowed and you tediously grind the Underground Hallowed enemies, and you get Souls of Light from the enemies. But you of course continue to die because, well, it's hard mode, what could you expect? You get enough Souls of Light to craft a Key of Light. Oh, what will this be for? Well, you put it in a normal chest, and if you leave the chest open and open it again, it will convert the Key of Light to some very good loot. I wish. I mean, technically it's true. I never said you didn't have to kill the said chest. But you kill the chest and you get a hook. Yay. You kill it again for the Dateless Stormbow. Now this is what you're looking for. This bad boy can rain down arrows from God knows where to stab your enemies to death. You also end up going to Underground Crimson and farming the new hard mode Crimson enemies for Souls of Night. Of course, you never die a single time, and with the Souls of Night, you craft a Key of Night. Using the Key of Night, you're able to put it into a chest, and yeah, I won't fake it. It turns into a Crimson Mimic. You would probably know if I try to trick you again, but you kill the Crimson Mimic for a Fetid Bagnax. Let's go, we are totally melee. You farm more Crimson Mimics, Fetid Bagnax again, and a Life Drain. Okay, finally the Dart Pistol. That's the thing you were looking for. Now that we've gone possibly the two best ranged weapons, we can move on to killing some boss pirate invasion. Yup. Yeah. In case if you didn't know, the pirate invasion spawns these pirates. How surprising. Also the Flying Dutchman, another mini boss. So you might be thinking, I got bothered by an event, but surely there's some good loot, right? Nope. No. All you get is gold furniture. For your box houses, you get nothing. Okay, so now it's time to actually fight the first boss in hard mode. You go to Underground Hollow, but don't worry, you're not farming for enemies this time. You're here to find a crystal called the Gelatin Crystal. It's eerily similar to a crystal shard, but eventually you find it, and you make a platform in your hallowed biome to summon the Queen Slime. The Queen Slime is just projectile spam. That's it. Other than growing wings once it enters the second phase, it just tries to summon a bunch of other slimes and it spams you with projectiles. But you take it down because you're just built different. Now the next bosses are this funny little trio called the Mechs. They're basically versions of free hard mode bosses but on drugs. The Destroyer is a buffed version of the Eater of Worlds, the Twins are a buffed version of the Eye of Cthulhu, and Skeletron Prime is... it's probably just a buffed version of the Wall of Flesh, what else could it be? So you upgrade your puny pre-hard mode arena into a massive hard mode arena, and you craft a mechanical worm and you wait for nighttime, and you summon the Destroyer. Remember when I said there were 3 easily cheesable bosses, and deerclops is one of them? Well, this is the second one. The fact that the name is the Destroyer, and yet it's the one getting destroyed is kind of weird. Oh yeah, he's already dead. You get something called hallowed bars from this boss. You don't get enough to a point where you can make anything too special though, but you also get souls of might from this boss, the soul of the Destroyer. You farm sharks in the ocean for shark fins, in-game, don't take it wrong.
FBI, open up!
And you buy illegal gun parts and a mini shark from the arms dealer NPC. You craft the souls of might, shark fins, illegal gun parts, and the mini shark into the mega shark. This weapon is absolute art. It is amazing. You instantly get to work by crafting the mechanical eye and summoning the Calamitous the Twins. The Twins are basically just the Eye of Cthulhu, but doubled. And one has a gun and the other can use a flamethrower. Yeah, but it's still a pretty cool fight nonetheless. After you beat the 2 Eye of Cthulhus, you get Souls of Sight, the soul of the Twins. But you also get more hallowed bars. So now you actually have enough to make the hallowed armor set. The hallowed armor set grants you some amazing iframes and some nice set bonuses to your damage. Then you fight the last mech, Skeletron Prime. Skeletron Prime is just Skeletron, but it has 4 guns and it actually has pupils now. And I hate this boss. Everyone does. Everyone hates it. In fact, people say that it's way worse than base Skeletron, and I agree with that. Now that you've killed Skeletron Prime, the jungle pulls a Twitter and rebrands itself to X. And the people in the jungle are very, very mad. Basically, the jungle grows restless. You get Souls of Fright, the soul of Skeletron Prime, and you also get more hallowed bars. You use all 3 of the souls and hallowed bars to craft the Pickaxe Axe, and you go to Underground Jungle again. Now that you've defeated the mechs, you can use your Pickaxe Axe to mine this ore in the Underground Jungle called Chlorophyte. I don't get how you can mine plant matter, but this is Terraria and logic doesn't matter. You can also get life roots from the Underground Jungle. Life roots grow after the mech bosses, and each life root gives you 5 health, also known as 5 more brain cells to spend on playing this game. And you can use a max of 20 life root. So after gathering enough life root, instead of 400 health, you now have 500 health. But be careful, as no matter how much health you have, there are tortoises that can still two-shot you. But once you mine enough chlorophyte, you use that to make chlorophyte armor. I just don't get how you can make armor out of plants. Shouldn't it just be easier to break? You also buy another Eternia crystal from the Tavern Keep, and you buy a sentry. Then you summon the Old One's army again. Now here's the thing, the Old One's army becomes buffed up after defeating one of the mechs. You of course use the sentry you bought from the Tavern Keep to defend from the goblins. At the final wave, a new mini-boss spawns called the Ogre. This honestly looks like me after making so many Terraria videos. However, even though you managed to beat the wave, you still lost. So you just decide to not do it ever again. How does that sound? But then, a solar eclipse happens. You just love whenever you want to progress, the game ruins you with an event. You love that. You fight the solar eclipse and one of the enemies drops a broken bat wing. So you craft the bat wings. You've got some pretty good wings now. After the solar eclipse is over, you go back to underground jungle. But you find this bulb thing. You break it and... I'm gonna put myself into a blender. So you use more chlorophyte to craft a chlorophyte chapo, and you go back to underground jungle and instantly make an underground arena. Once you find another bulb, you instantly summon Plantera. Plantera just shoots out petals, and once you get her to half health, she freaks out and goes into a second phase. So what's so good about this fight? The music. This music is amazing. That's the best thing about this fight. The music just slaps. You managed to clutch out the win. Screams echo from the dungeon, huh? Oh, I wonder what that'll be. Plantera dropped an item called the Temple Key. My favorite part of the game is getting near. You explore the underground jungle more, and you find the jungle temple. You use the Temple Key to unlock the temple. This place is filled to the brim with traps and enemies, and there are many ways to get suffocated here. However, the temple also contains these chests, and each chest contains a lizard, whatever, a power cell. You'll learn how to use power cells later. From one of the chests though, you get a solar tablet. You go back to spawn and you use it, and it summons another solar eclipse. Great. But after defeating Plantera, the solar eclipse actually gets buffed, and a new mini-boss called the Mothron spawns. You kill one and it drops a broken hero sword. A melee material. Nice. Also, you can somehow make a legendary ancient toilet with it. After the solar eclipse ends, you go back to the temple and you make it to the altar room. Now this is going to be my favorite part of the game. You'll use the power cells you got earlier at the altar and you summon Golem. Now you may ask, why is this your favorite part of the game? Well, because I get to bully Golem. In case if you didn't know, out of the 3 most cheesable bosses, Golem is the easiest. This fight is pathetic. The amount of ego I get after defeating this boss is a force to be reckoned with. In fact, the other enemies in the temple are harder to kill than this. Oh, he's already dead. How surprising. You get a pick saw. Now you've got a better pickaxe at least. Now this is the final stretch. You're actually getting close to beating the game. Remember the mushroom biome that you found? Well, you go back there and you collect some mushroom grass seeds. Then you plant them in mud blocks on the surface to create a surface glowing mushroom biome. And you make a house there. Eventually the truffle NPC moves in. The truffle sells a crafting station called the auto hammer, so you buy it. Using the auto hammer, you combine chlorophyte and glowing mushrooms to craft shroomite bars. And you use the shroomite to make a shroomite armor set. This is going to be the best armor set for the final stretch of the game. Yep, an armor set made out of shrooms. This game never ceases to confuse me. Then you go to the dungeon. The status message we got after Plantera that said screams echo from the dungeon, well, after Plantera, the dungeon gets buffed. But when you go to the dungeon, oh god, who are these people? Don't worry about them now. So you enter the dungeon once again, and there are a lot of new enemies. You end up getting some nice loot like a black belt, a tabby, and a rifle scope. You combine the black belt and tabby to make the Master Ninja gear. It's a good dash, and it gives you immunity frames as well. You upgrade your rifle scope into a recon scope, and it gives you some amazing ranger damage, and if you use a gun, you can zoom out. Now it's time to fight the next boss, a fish. I'll explain once it's in there. You buy a bug net from the merchant, and you go back to underground mushroom biome. You find a critter called the truffle worm, so you catch it. Wow, 666% bait power. I wonder what amazing fish I could get from this bait. You're fighting a boss now, unwillingly. This here is Duke Fishron. No, not the channel, the boss. Duke Fishron just dashes a lot, and it also spawns tornadoes that shoot out sharks. However, once it gets low, it goes anime plot armor mode and starts teleporting and dashing, but you manage to beat it. You kill the giant fish pig, and it drops a tsunami. This weapon is amazing. I love this weapon. You're going to love it too. But Fishron also has a chance to drop wings, so you farm it again since you want wings, and... you know what, let's just... These wings are the best wings you can use for the real final boss. Don't worry, it's not a fake out like last time. Next, it's time to do the 2 moon events, the Frost Moon and the Pumpkin Moon. First, you craft a naughty present, wait for nighttime, and summon the Frost Moon. Basically, there are 15 waves, and as the waves get higher, stronger enemies appear. And once you get to the final waves, a mini-boss called the Ice Queen appears. But it's of course nothing that the Tsunami weapon can't take care of. Then you craft a Pumpkin Medallion, wait for the next night, and summon the Pumpkin Moon. It's just like the Frost Moon, 15 waves, and there are stronger enemies at higher waves. And the final mini-boss of this event is the Pumpkin, but it's too easy for your Tsunami. Like seriously, the Tsunami is amazing. The last event you do is you go to the end of the ocean and you wait for a Martian probe to spawn. You let the Martian probe scan you and the Martian Menace event spawns. After defeating more enemies, the Martian Saucer spawns, the mini-boss of this event. But it's nothing for the likes of your manly gear. Now here's the thing, there is one more boss to fight before you start the next event. You go to Hallow at night and you find this butterfly called a Prismatic Lacewing. So you naturally do what anyone would do, kill it. Yeah, you just summoned a sun god by accidentally killing a mere butterfly, good luck. This is the Empress of Light. Get ready for this boss because it is an absolute light show of a boss fight, filled with many attacks and many ways to get the highest degree of blindness. Once you get it low enough, it enters the second phase, and all of the attacks become buffed. But you keep shooting with the Tsunami, and you eventually win the war. Now it's time. You're ready. So you go back to the dungeon, and remember the random cultists that were at the dungeon? You have to kill them. So you do just that. But then, the lunatic cultist spawns. Hey, isn't that the guy in the thumbnail? The lunatic cultist just shoots out some projectiles, I guess. But it also can sometimes do a ritual attack. And you have to know which one is the right one. Guess the wrong one and you're dead. I'm serious, you're dead. But of course, you have more than the IQ of 3, so you're able to win the fight. Now aliens are invading, also known as the 4 lunar pillars. This is the worst part of the game. If you don't know, the lunar pillars are basically just these 4 pillars. Each pillar corresponds to a class. The solar pillar for the melee class, the vortex pillar for the ranged class, the nebula pillar for the mage class, and the stardust pillar for the summoner class. And you have to defeat enemies from each pillar, and after defeating enough enemies, the pillar's shield is broken and you can finish the pillar off. Now, why is this so tedious? Because not only you have to defeat 100 enemies of each pillar to break the barrier, but the enemies are horrible. If you get hit 2 times, maximum 3, you're dead. You go for the vortex pillar first since it's a ranged one, and after taking about 20 minutes to destroy the pillar, you get vortex fragments from the pillar. You use the vortex fragments to make the vortex speeder. This weapon right here is what you're going to use for the final boss. Yeah, that's right. Your adventure is coming to an end. So you defeat the 3 other pillars, and the impending doom approaches. You wait. You wait. And you wait. Why isn't it spot? Moonlord jump scare. This is Moonlord. Yeah, now it's time to fight an Eldritch Squid deity. How does this fight work? Well, it's just a lot of lasers, I guess. You have to defeat the 3 eyes, 2 of the eyes being on his hands and the 3rd one being on his head. So you spam the vortex speeder, making sure to avoid all the lasers, and you eventually take down the 3 eyes. Now the eyes are actually out of his body and are spamming attacks to slow you down. But now that the 3 eyes are out, you have to defeat the core. So you keep on spamming your vortex speeder, you shoot and you shoot. And there it is. That's the end.